If true, this changes everything for the Houston Rockets and their pursuit for Kevin Durant. As many of you know, the Spurs were the favorite to land the former two-time NBA Finals MVP, but this new update has shed some light on now where the Rockets stand in getting KD. And we're going to break it all down for you right here on this episode of Rockets Digest. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo, and I am on the road, so we're doing this one standing up today. No worries about that. We're going to get you your Rockets content for today. So let's go ahead and get started with that. A new report has just dropped saying that Kevin Durant trade down to Minnesota Timberwolves and the Houston Rockets. And this is from NBA insider Ari on X, who has been spot on a lot of NBA rumors and updates regarding the past few days and few weeks. And so he revealed that the final two teams that are battling it out to land Kevin Durant are the Timberwolves and the Rockets. So yes, he has been on the money and he has limited it down to these two teams. And so let's go a little bit further into the San Antonio Spurs, right? So to understand where the Rockets are currently at in terms of that pursuit of KD, we have to know what other teams are doing. And the Spurs were, in fact, the favorite to land KD as of yesterday. I think they were an overwhelming favorite, minus 160 were the betting odds. And so there is a lot to there's a lot happening in the NBA right now. And it's a very, very fast-paced environment. And it says right here, the San Antonio Spurs remain active in offseason discussions, but league sources tell RG there is increasing doubt the team will ultimately land Kevin Durant via trade. And the present expectation is that the Spurs will use the number 2 overall pick in the NBA draft to select Dylan Harper, barring a surprise development. And now this is a big deal because that would effectively get them out of these KD trade talks, right? If you're going to trade for KD, that second pick is going to be something Phoenix is going to be after, right? They don't have a pick in the first round this year that belongs to us, the Houston Rockets. And so if they were to deal a deal with San Antonio, you would expect that that number 2 pick would definitely be included in the package. Now, the other reason why this is significant is because according to NBA insider Zach Lowe, it was, quote, the biggest mystery in the league right now is how aggressive the Spurs are actually going to get. And so when you see something like this, it is a little bit of an eye-opener in terms of what the San Antonio Spurs are looking at and what they possibly want to do. Because this other update right here is also very interesting in what the Spurs are going to do because they value Giannis a little bit more than they do Kevin Durant. And so when you consider that, right, and this isn't to say that, the Rockets aren't interested in Giannis or they're more interested in KD than Giannis or vice versa, right? But what this does give insight to in terms of a Rockets perspective is if you are going to go forward with KD, right? If you're going to go after him, your competition for that is less. You're more likely to get a guy like KD than to get a guy like Giannis. The competition for a Giannis would just be greater. And that is absolutely true, right? I think a lot more teams would rather have Giannis than KD, considering their age, considering where they're at in their careers. Nevertheless, KD is still a valuable player on the team. I get it, 36 years old, but still a lot of teams would be willing to go out and get him. And if that's what the Rockets are doing, and although they're not the favorite right now, or weren't the favorite yesterday, they certainly are the favorite right now. Them and the Timberwolves are teams that it seems to be down to. Now, talking about the Timberwolves, we're talking about the Rockets competition. If we are going to get Durant, and if we're set on getting Durant, what obstacles do we face? Well, the Timberwolves couldn't trade for Durant at the deadline. That was the trade deadline this past season. But with the expiring contracts of Julius Randle, Naz Reid, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that should open up some cap space for them. So, okay, very interesting, right? Okay, so the Timberwolves, didn't get it done in the Western Conference Finals this season. Ended up getting bounced by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They need some extra oomph, right, to get to where they want to be. Now, we can argue whether or not trading for KD and not re-signing one of these players is a good idea. To me, it's not. But at the same time, this is something that they're willing to do. And if this report is as accurate as he has been in the past, then it is down to these two teams, right? Minnesota and Houston. And so the Timberwolves could very well be going full force at Kevin Durant. Now, if I'm Kevin Durant, the thing that I'm saying to myself right now is that if I want to win a championship in the last 3 years of my career, I would rather play in Houston than Minnesota, and here is why. Houston has the young talent and has uh, the coaching that you would want to be under in terms of who you want to help lead you to a championship. The Timberwolves have Chris Finch, who's a solid coach in absolutely everything, but when I see Julius Randle, Naz Reid, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who have expiring contracts, and it's a question of whether or not they're going to be on the team next year. If I'm KD, I would rather go to Houston, where it is a safer bet on what players will be there. Now, of course, this will be a trade, right? You would not, it wouldn't just be the exact players on the Houston roster right now, but nevertheless, there's more potential in my mind with Houston than there is with Minnesota, who seems to kind of reach their peak in the Western Conference Finals and would need something drastic to happen to that franchise. And to be completely honest, I don't think a Kevin Durant trade would be the thing that they would need to get to the NBA Finals, considering what they would have to trade to make that happen. Now, as for the Rockets, they have long been considered the favorites, right? We've been talking about KD for months now, not just because of their depth and assets, but because the Suns want to receive their draft assets. Again, we have that 10th pick that belongs to the Suns. They would be willing to do anything to get that back. And so that is very, very important to note in a KD trade. Now, what else do we have to report to you guys right now? Ari, the one who reported this information of the last two teams, also reported that a trade could be finalized within the next week, as many in NBA circles expect a deal by then. And this is something that we broke down in Rockets Digest earlier today. A trade is going to happen. It's going to happen soon, and the Houston Rockets and whatever team and KD are going to be ready for that deal to happen. And so, as a Houston Rockets fan, as someone reporting and covering the Houston Rockets, it can have a lot of impact and a lot of naysayers right to the trade. As many of you have pointed out, y'all are not fans of KD. Some of y'all do not want him on this team and don't think he fits within the timeline. And that is completely fair. That is a completely fair sentence and accurate statement to make. But at the end of the day, if the Houston Rockets do decide to go forth and trade for a guy like Kevin Durant and put him on this team, whether that be for Jalen Green or Jabari Smith Jr. or what the 10th overall pick, whatever it may be, it is going to have a major impact on the rest of the off season and what we do outside of this particular trade. We still need more shooters. We still need a backup big. What are we going to do in terms of all those things? So this would be the first domino to fall. Now, if we get KD, okay, great. We have one of the best scorers in the NBA. We still got to get these other things. If we don't get KD, well, there's always Giannis. There's always the shooters that we need. If you want to keep the continuity, we still have that continuity. We still need a backup big, right? And so this is just going to be one of the first dominoes to fall, and it is going to be a very, very interesting thing to see play out throughout the entire off season. And I'm very excited to see what happens. It's not every season that the Rockets are this interesting at this point of the year, but it's fun to see us involved in these conversations, whether we like these players or not. Because at the end of the day, we are in contention of getting a very valuable score. 26 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 52% from the field and 43% from three. On paper, that looks amazing. I know on paper you also see 36 years old, which can be scary and is scary, right? Considering the timeline of this Houston Rockets team. But at the same time, if this is a guy that the front office believes and is certain can make this team better, then by goodness, make the trade if the price is right. Key phrasing, if the price is right. And so let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the Spurs essentially being out of this conversation, it down to only two teams, the Timberwolves and the Houston Rockets. What do you think we should do? And as always, if you've made it to the end of the video, that tells me that you are a true Houston Rockets fan. Why don't you give us a subscribe and help build this community for all Rockets fans across Houston and all the other places. If you're watching, and I see we have people watching in all parts of Texas, some people watching from Turkey, Alperen Şengün fans. So thank you all for tuning in. And so we'll see you next time on the next episode of Rockets Digest. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo. Adios.